The year is 1257. The Mongol Empire stands at the peak of its power, stretching from Eastern Europe to the Pacific Ocean.
This land does not bleed like the others.
No army has been able to withstand their mounted warriors.
No
Kingdom has survived their siege engines.
But now,
they face a different kind of challenge. "50,000 Mongol horsemen march south from China. These are not untested soldiers. They are veterans who crushed the Jin dynasty, who conquered Central Asia, who brought terror to distant lands. Their destination, the Kingdom of Đại Việt, in the humid jungles of what we now call Vietnam. The Mongol war machine has perfected a deadly formula: swift cavalry charges, psychological warfare, siege tactics that starve cities into submission. This combination has never failed them, never. But Vietnam is not the open steppes of Mongolia. It is not the flat plains of northern China. Here ancient rivers wind through dense forests. Monsoon rains turn roads into swamps. The very landscape becomes an enemy. As the Mongol army crosses the border, they encounter their first surprise. There are no massed Vietnamese armies waiting to meet them. No grand fortifications to siege. Instead, they find empty villages and silent forests. The population has vanished like morning mist.
The Tran Dynasty rulers of Vietnam have chosen a different strategy. Their military advisors studied Mongol tactics for years.
They know they cannot match the invaders in open battle, so they will not fight in open battle. Vietnamese forces melt into the jumble. Become ghosts in their own land. When Mongol columns march down forest paths, arrows suddenly rain from hidden positions. When cavalry attempt to pursue, they find empty trees and vanished enemies. The Mongols capture village after village, but each victory feels hollow. Granaries are emptied, wells are poisoned.
Bridges collapse the moment the first horses cross them. The Vietnamese are not retreating in panic. They are executing a plan.
Supply lines stretch thinner with each mile south. Mongol horses bred for cold steppes struggle in tropical heat. Men fall sick from diseases they have never encountered. The jungle itself seems to resist their presence. Then comes the moment the Mongols have been waiting for. The capital city of Thăng lies ahead. Surely here they will find the decisive battle they need. The garrison will make a stand. The siege will be glorious, and victory will be complete. But when the Mongol army arrives at Thăng, they find its gates standing open. The city is empty, not abandoned in haste, but methodically evacuated. Every grain of rice removed, every weapon taken, even the livestock driven away. The Mongols occupied ghost town. They raised their banners over empty palaces and proclaimed victory to no one. Their soldiers camp in streets where only wine answers their shouts. This is not the conquest they expected.
Days pass,
then weeks. Disease spreads through the occupying force. Vietnamese raiders strike supply convoys returning to China. Isolated Mongol units simply disappear in the night, swallowed by the jungle. The Vietnamese have not been defeated. They have been gathering strength. While the Mongols sit in their empty capital, Vietnamese forces regroup in the countryside. They coordinate strikes. They plan their counterattack. The moment comes at the Battle of Dong Bo Dao near the Red River. The Mongols, exhausted and demoralized, decide to withdraw northward. But the Vietnamese have prepared one final trap. As Mongol forces approach the river crossing, Vietnamese naval forces emerge from hidden positions. Fire ships, loaded with oil and pitch, sail directly into the Mongol fleet. Flames spread across the water like liquid lightning. Mongol cavalry, masters of land warfare, find themselves helpless against naval tactics. Horses panic in the water. Heavy armor becomes a death sentence. The disciplined formation that conquered half the world dissolves into chaos. Vietnamese archers, positioned on both riverbanks, pour arrows into the confusion. Small boats dart between burning vessels, striking with precision and vanishing again. The river runs red with more than just its natural color. Survivors scramble to escape northward. Of the 50,000 warriors who entered Vietnam, barely half returned to China. rest lie buried in Vietnamese soil or rest beneath river waters. But this is not the end of the story. The Mongols, humiliated by their defeat, will try again. In 1284, they launch a second invasion. Once again, Vietnamese tactics proved superior. Jungle warfare, naval ambushes, and coordinated resistance break another Mongol army. A third attempt follows in 1287. By now, the Vietnamese have perfected their defensive strategy. They know exactly how to fight an enemy that has conquered most of the known world. The third invasion fails even more decisively than the first two. The Mongol Empire, which seemed unstoppable, meets its match in the rivers and forests of Vietnam. Not through superior numbers or better equipment, but through superior strategy and unbreakable determination. This was more than military defeat. It was a clash between two completely different ways of war. Mongol mobility versus Vietnamese adaptability. Open battle versus hidden warfare. Imperial conquest versus homeland defense. The Vietnamese proved that the greatest empire in history could be stopped, not by matching its strengths, but by refusing to fight on its terms. They turned their land itself into a weapon, and their knowledge of home ground into an insurmountable advantage. In the end, the Mongols learned a lesson that would echo through military history. Even the most powerful army can be defeated by an enemy that knows the terrain, controls the population, and refuses to give up. The jungles of Vietnam had swallowed the Mongol war machine, and the world